Welcome to the Lost Vet podcast, where we are trying to get you back to your passion and purpose. I am your host, Dr. Melodie Chan, and in today's episode of Destination People, Rob and I are going to discuss the terms above the line and below the line as it relates to helping you establish behaviors that you want to be part of your clinic culture. Have a listen. Rob, one of the things that I've found that has been really helpful when working with a team or leading a team is to have shared vocabulary, shared terms where we all have a mutual understanding of sort of where we want to be and how we want to act, if you will. One of the terms that really helped me when I was working with a team was defining the terms above the line, being above the line or being below the line as it relates to accountability. And I thought, why don't we just take this opportunity to define what that means? And perhaps our audience can start thinking about how they can incorporate that language into their own cultures. So why don't we just start with, what is this line that I'm talking about?
Well, it's actually one of my, I suppose, favorite models by way of, as you say, a shared communication tool. It's a really simple thing, and I suppose that's why I like it. It's a really easy, quick share with the group, and I think it doesn't require a great deal of explanation. So, what it positions is there's a center line, and then above the line behaviors are accountability, responsibility, and ownership, and then below the line behaviors are blame, excuses, and denial. So what this does is it gives us a very simple kind of in or out, black or white, yes or no framework where we can kind of assess our own behavior, and then determine whether that was appropriate for that conversation or that situation, and then we can make the necessary adjustments. So I think one of the things I hear quite a lot actually is that it's okay to be below the line. I think sometimes we kind of, we pillory people, oh, you're being below the line. It's like, yeah, sometimes we just need to be below the line. We just need to make some excuses or blame people or be in denial about a situation. It's a helpful part of change, that process of feeling negatively about something before we can feel positively. But yeah, it's a really simple model just to define those simple terms. Am I being above the line, i.e., taking accountability, being responsible, taking ownership, or am I below the line? Am I blaming? Am I making excuses? And am I in denial?
What would below the line language sound like if somebody was being below the line?
Um, well, typically it's usually externalizing the problem, I think is the way I think about it. So it's like, that's not my fault, that's your fault, or there's not even a problem here. Why are you even asking me? You're kind of separating yourself out and pushing the issue back to the person that's presenting it to you. So it's yeah, it's very kind of almost like it's got nothing to do with me. You're like washing your hands of it. Okay, it's your fault. I'm blaming you. I'm not even accepting that there is a problem. It's all kind of externalizing the issue and kind of passing it back to the person that brought it to you.
Yeah, I've also heard it as sort of that victim mentality of, why is this happening to me? Everything goes wrong and it always seems to fall on my head and nobody's
Yeah.
here to help me, that type of thing. One of my colleagues used to say, okay, I'm throwing myself a pity party. So I'm just going to go below the line for a few minutes here and I need to throw that pity party. And I found it useful personally, just in allowing a group, and you kind of define that space and just saying, okay, I know we've just gone through a really tough, event or day or hour. Let's just have a moment. We can go below the line and
Yeah.
then we'll drag ourselves back up above the line. So in that vein, in that direction, what does the above the line language sound like to you?
Well, in the same way that, the below the line behaviors are externalizing the problem, what I think kind of the above the line is you're internalizing responsibility. You're saying, I will shoulder responsibility, I will take ownership, I will be accountable. So it's very much, it's the language of me, I'm going to look after this. Whereas I think that those below the line language is more to do with the externalizing of the problem, and it's you, not me. So It is. I think it's important just at this stage to be clear about how this needs to be utilized as well, because I think you've kind of led us to this nicely, Melody. Because I think one of the I suppose the flaws with this model is it's often misused because it's not explained well. So I've heard it a number of times. How do I hold my team accountable? How do I keep them above the line? Right? How do I stop them going below the line? And to your point, you're not in control of people, right? You can't like stop them from doing something. They are always going to choose their behaviors. This is not a model where you say, I'm going to hold you above the line. This is a model where you say, show me how above the line you can be. Show me how accountable you can be. Show me how much ownership you can take in the situation. It is not a tool to control people's behavior, and it's not a tool to critique people's behavior either. It's as you said at the beginning, it's some common language that we can all self-identify where we're sitting at that moment, rather than someone telling you where you're sitting. It's the question: are we above the line? Are you above the line? If so, what do you need to do about it? It's a great coaching tool.
Yeah, I really like that. For me, I think it provides that psychological safety as well, where you can say, "Hey, we're allowed to just go play in the dirt for a little bit if necessary." But it also helps you identify, if somebody is constantly in that blame or victim cycle, encouraging them and just saying, if we think about going above the line now, and almost
Yeah.
defining that new space you're going to mentally pull them into. um, I often like to encourage people. I want to hear about the problems. I want to hear what's really holding you back or feels like it's challenging you day to day. But I also want to hear with that some of your ideas for solutions, so that you can
Yeah.
come with defining the problem, as it were, and then also come with some ideas. So you're not just doing the excuses or whining, or, just laying out the complaints list, if you will.
Yeah, I think what it does is it's as I say, it's kind of a self-assessment tool. It's not something you need to bring people to. It's like once you've shared this model and people go, oh yeah, that makes sense, because it kind of does. We can all appreciate that we can be in both of those positions probably 50 times a day if the day is a normal day.
Yeah.
So it's more the how do you utilize that then to self-describe and I suppose propel your into the behavior that you wish to have. Okay, and it's validating the need to complain. It's okay to complain. It's okay to have problems. It's okay to feel frustrated. This is not that toxic corporate culture where smile, 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 and let's all sing the company song kind of thing. This is like reality. We're all allowed to have bad days, bad minutes, bad times in our day. But this allows us the opportunity to consolidate in that space, validate it. Yep, those are concerns you have. Now, if you were taking ownership of this, what would you be doing right now? So it's just very helpful from that perspective.
So a little more of a nuts and bolts type question then, if you're wanting to roll out these terms to your team
Yeah.
and you've never done something like this before, how would you advise, a manager who's like, I really want to implement this new language? Do they roll it out at a staff meeting? Do they do it one-on-one? In your experience, what have you seen that's worked well?
Well, I think because it's such a simple model, I don't see any reason why staff meeting isn't a good venue to share it with the group. I think the way you do it is more important than the way you do it, though, to be honest.
Okay.
I feel this is more like, hey, I've recognized a lot of the time my behavior is, as per this model, below the line. And I've really been quite challenged by this model because I realize that I'm spending really quite a lot of my day in blame behaviors, in denial behaviors, in excuses behaviors. And I found this helpful as a challenge to me to really try and snap out of that thought process as quickly as possible. Not to invalidate it, but just to give me some idea of what a better version of myself might look like in that situation. So because I struggle with this, I thought I'd share it with you, and then you can tell me what you think about it. Can you think of examples of above the line behaviors you've exhibited, I've exhibited, above the line, below the line? Just let's share, let's talk about it. And maybe even if the person leading it was to be quite candid, was to talk about times when they have been below the line, times when they have been able to access a better version of themselves using that model, or times when they've tried and failed. I think really the key here is just candor, openness, a touch of vulnerability. And I think people will see that the intentions are good. The other thing that can be helpful is like a teaching kind of a vibe. And then you might do well to get two or three other people involved in the session. So rather than it just be about you bringing this to the team, you might do as you were suggesting, Mel. You might grab two or three people one to one, talk about the model, see what they think about it. If they like it, enlist them to help you share it with the rest of the group.
That's a really great tip. So thanks so much for talking through this, and hopefully our audience will find it helpful.
Thanks, I enjoyed it. I love this model.
So, to help recap what this above the line and below the line means, that line in the sand is a definition of the behaviors that you want to have within the group that you're working with. So, below the line behaviors would include denial, blame, or excuses, versus being above the line would be accountability, responsibility, and ownership of different situations. And again, this is not to say that you should never be below the line in your group and that's your expectation. What we're saying is these terms, to be above or below the line, allows you to, as a group, define where you are mentally, whether that's on your own or in a group setting. And it allows you to have a healthy space to vent, but then also reminds you to come out of that space and think about what you can do to help a situation or improve a situation, or even just improve your own mindset. And I think one of the good tips that I really appreciated from our discussion is it's if you're wanting to introduce this concept to your group, it's not so much where you do it, but just how you're going to unroll it. And I think that idea of being candid and vulnerable and open as a leader in sharing your own experience, if this is the first time you've heard these terms, and reflecting on where you've maybe acted below the line and how this has perhaps helped you to move out of that space or define it and be more constructive, to actually share that story with your teammates. And that gives them context and gives them permission to just be self-reflective as well. And from my own experience, I've actually found this kind of fun, because sometimes you are in that mood where you're just venting and you can kind of laugh and chuckle about, wow, we are really below the line. Okay, let's take a moment and let's pull ourselves up. So it really helps to pull out some of that intensity sometimes when you're really feeling like it's a tough situation. So hopefully this helps you out with some of your issues or situations in your own group. And thanks for listening. Until next time.